Hey Year 12, I'm going to do a couple of videos to take you through the elements of your current assessment task that is due at the end of term. I know quite a few of you come up to me and ask questions about the task. It's a little bit different to something that you've done before, and a few of you have expressed your concerns about the requirements and what exactly are you being asked to do. So firstly, let me reassure you, a lot of this is not different to stuff that you've done before. I know the discursive is a bit different, but everything else is very similar to what you have been doing. The sway is similar to what you did in term 2 of this year. It's a multimodal task. You are looking at how you can present it on the sway, on the website, and use the functionality of that site to support what it is you're saying. But this particular video is going to be about the informative text, and then I'll do one on the discursive and one on the reflective writing as well. So in this particular assessment, the first part is about the informative text. I would recommend that you deal with this first and don't launch into the others until this is written. Although the assessment is in parts, each part builds on from the first one. So you can't write the reflective until you've written the informative and the discursive, and the discursive should come out of the informative. And what I'm going to do is show you how it all links to the rubric and how you can address it. Now you have to understand, in stage 6 English, we have a very big jump up from stage 5. And even from year 11 to year 12, there's a big jump in what's required. The questions, although often written quite simply, are usually often loaded with levels of meaning embedded in them, which you have to be able to understand. So before we even look at the question and what it's asking to do up here, we first need to know what is an informative piece, because that's the first thing that you are being asked to write. So if we come down here, just here, I have Nessa's definition of what an informative text is. An informative text, or an informative piece, which is what you're being asked to write, is a text whose primary purpose is to provide information through explanation, description, argument, analysis, ordering, and presentation of evidence and procedures. These texts include reports, explanations, and descriptions of natural phenomena, recount of events, instructions and directions, rules and laws, news bulletins and articles, websites, and text analysis. They include texts which are valued for their informative content as a store of knowledge and for their value as part of everyday life. So some important things that jump out of this straight away. Look at these words here: explanation, description, argument, analysis, ordering, and presentation of evidence. Okay, you've seen those words before. You know those words. They're in your alarm matrix. So the first thing that jumps out to me is, when I know what an informative piece is, I can use alarm as my scaffold to help me write this. The next thing is here, text analysis. So we know that this works with what it is that we're being asked to do. Also says here it can be found on a website. And it's also, this part here is really important, primary purpose. So you have to ask, what is the purpose of this informative text that I'm writing? You also have to consider the mode or the medium in which it's being delivered. You are writing a multimodal text. You are using a website. Not many websites have essays. You're not writing an essay. You have to choose a form that is appropriate for the mode that you're using. An essay is not appropriate for the mode that you are using because you're making a website. Having said that, alarm paragraphs will work because it tells us this here. We've got those elements of alarm here, okay? We also, sorry, my computer's just got a bit funny, everyone. We've also got down here that the information texts include texts which are valued for their informative content as a store of knowledge and for their value as part of everyday life. Notice the repetition of the word value. As soon as we see that word, it means that we're writing something that needs to be substantial, sophisticated, and it can't be something that's not going to hold value for the reader. So you have to be aware of who your audience is. You are writing a multimodal text for Year 12 students or higher, and higher academically. You've got to remember, who is your marker? Now, you're not writing it for your marker. Your audience has to be more than your marker. That's not how we think about audience, but who is it for? So when we go back to the question, we actually start to get some ideas. So if we look at it, research and compose an informative piece on one key idea about the human experience. Okay, so firstly, research. Research implies in-depth knowledge. So straight away, that triggers our understanding of the word audience. Who is our audience? Our audience are people who are educated and who have an understanding of complex ideas, which means in our writing, we have to be exploring those complex ideas, and it needs to be research-based, which means you need in-depth textual understanding. You probably should be doing wider reading about the form, about the stylistic features, and about the human experience itself. And when I'm talking for wider reading for research, I'm not talking Google searches. I'm talking State Library Journal articles and Google Scholar searches. You can't just be reading other people's blogs. That's not research. That's not the sophisticated level that is required of Stage 6 English. Okay. Then, so you're going to compose your informative piece, and we've just gone through that description down here of what it is, and you're going to explore one key idea about human experiences. And then it says that you're going to do it through your prescribed text and your related text, making detailed analytical reference to how that idea is reflected in those texts. So what it's asking you to do is identify a human experience. It's giving you some suggestions down here. Do you have to use those? No, you don't. You can come up with your own. Come up with one that is suitable for your prescribed text and your related text. These are just suggested ideas. It's not an exhaustive list. You need 3 visuals that help convey the information. Don't just slap some pictures in there. They've actually got to be born out of what you are doing. You must include detailed analysis of evidence that demonstrates how the idea and the human experience are represented in the 2 texts. Okay, what I'm going to do is stop this here, and then I'm going to pick up on the next video about the human experience that is required for this part of the assessment task.